I think business is a platform to deliver progress. So progress for the people inside the business. Successful businesses also progress economies and progress nations. It's a platform designed to deliver progress. I think I was born with business in my blood. My first venture was when I was 3.5 years old. I learned to use a pair of scissors. My dad threw away an old calendar, and I took the calendar out of the dustbin and I cut out the pictures. And I watched the door, and as a domestic went out to do the washing, I went and ran out and I went selling these calendars door to door. And I came back about 24 hours later with a pocket full of money. But with my gran and my aunt and my grandfather and everyone there ready to file a missing persons report. But it didn't matter because I had done my first business venture and I came back with a pocket full of money. And that was the start of a real addiction to business. Right through my school life and my high school life, I was always the guy doing something. I was always the guy maneuvering or coming up with something to buy and sell. So yeah, I think it's in my blood. My partnership with Gil started in matric. We were school friends, and we decided that we wanted to run the matric dance. And so we went and we hired a venue, and the matric dance after party. And we hired a venue and we sold after party tickets, and that was our first entrepreneurial venture. Shortly thereafter, I read an article that there was a liquidation sale for cosmetics business. And I went to the auction and I bought this container of cosmetics. And we were still in matric, we were still writing our final exams. But instead of studying for our final exams, what did we do? We got into our cars. We took our dad's ties and shirts, which were way too big for us. We dressed in a shirt and tie, and we went door to door to the salons selling these exclusive cosmetics, which were actually not so exclusive. But we did that, and we made a lot of money. I think we must have made close to R1 million in 1993 by selling these cosmetics. And that was our first real successful business venture together. We then both went to study, and after the studies, we found ourselves in business partnership again. And so I completed the studying for the chartered financial analyst. I passed all the exams, and then I went and got my first job. And my first job, I'm proud to say, lasted for 4 months. That's it. I was a stockbroker. I was a stockbroker at a great firm called Rice Rinaldi. I was the youngest stockbroker, and I was the youngest stockbroker in a firm where the average age was about 107 in the shade. And so I walked in there with this vigor of this young, short guy who walked in and wants to change everything and even buy the firm. And these guys just wanted to stay in their own way. But something very amazing happened to me when I was a stockbroker. So every day I would answer calls from these old ladies and old men who'd phone me and say, "Hi, what is the share price?" I'd say, "Share price is 10 Rand. And they'd phone me back 10 minutes later asking me the same question. And what I realized was that you don't really need to phone a stockbroker to trade shares. And I know today that sounds pretty obvious, but in 1998, there were no online stockbroking platforms. So I called Gil one night, we went for a cup of coffee. We met at 9 o'clock and we spoke until 9 o'clock the next morning about this idea, and the idea was called Wealth Maker. And Wealth Maker was an online stock, gold, bonds, commodities trading portal, and was going to be the first one of its kind in South Africa. We then needed to raise money because we realized that you can't do this without money. So I phoned my dad and I said, "Look, Dad, you've got one wealthy friend. Can I meet your wealthy friend?" The friend's name was Stefan Josilovitz, and at the time, he was the CEO of Matrix Vehicle Tracking. And so we met Stefan at his house on Saturday afternoon, and I said to him, "Stefan, I need to raise 5 million Rand, and I want to do this to do this for the following idea." And he looked at me and said, "Where's your business plan?" And I said to him, "Well, I'm telling you the plan." He said, No, where's your plan? Where's the plan? And so we left with our tails between our legs, but we said we'd be back the next day. And then we went and started writing a business plan. And 6 months later, Gil and I were still writing our first business plan. And it landed up being a bunch of papers. It was 4 books and it was this thick. And that business plan eventually allowed us to raise money. We raised around 20 million Rand to develop this South Africa's first online stockbroking portal. And to cut a long story short, because I know we don't really have that much time here today, but 3 months before our launch, our investor went insolvent. And when he went insolvent, because he owned a majority of our business, we went insolvent. And that was really the blackest day of my life. There's something to be said about a few things in failure. The first thing is, when you're 21, 22, 23, you're very young, and you've got these uninhibited dreams that, and you don't, reality doesn't slow you down. And that's exactly what we did. And we chased this huge vision of becoming South Africa's first online stockbroking portal. And we had about 30 developers that followed our dream. And you do this without a roadmap. It's quite tough. Every day you come to work, there's no one to tell you what to do. You can't even read other case studies because no one's done this. And we sold these developers on our dream, and they all had families. And I'll never forget the day that we actually, when the business went insolvent. But I got to the office and everyone was sitting outside, and immediately I realized something's wrong because of the looks that they gave me. And so I got to the door and I saw the sheriff's note, which is a very fancy note with a government stamp on it. And really what it said was that this business is under liquidation, and if anything in here is your personal stuff, then you can go inside and fetch it. I phoned Gil and I said to Gil, you don't go to the office, let's meet at a coffee shop. And we met at a coffee shop in Norwood, and we wrote down on a serviette exactly how much money we had. And when I say how much money we had, if I sell my watch and I sell my golf club and I remortgage my house and I remortgage my car, blah, blah, blah. And we wrote down exactly how much money we had, and we paid our developers. And we then had nothing to do. So you've gone from this scenario of being an internet millionaire on paper, I was worth hundreds of millions of rands on paper, to being broke, to living in your parents' house, to not having money for petrol. We couldn't go to meetings because we didn't have money to get to the meetings. When we did go to meetings, we would use the coffee shop as our office, and we had a rule. The rule was you never gesture to pay for the coffee. You always wait, because we didn't have any money. I think the worst part of that period is not the fact that you lose your money, because money comes and goes, but you lose your confidence, you lose your spirit. I was a guy that used to wake up at 5:30 every morning with excitement, and I used to write down my ideas. And when that happened to me, I used to wake up at 10, switch on the TV and watch videos till 12, because you don't have any motivation. In hindsight, I would say that was the most valuable lesson in my life. And that what it taught me was that no matter how far down I was, I can get up. And it gives you the confidence that no matter what happens to you, you will find a way to get up. And what I realize now, being in the stage of my career where I am today, is that the difference between being amazing or successful and not is your ability to take a knock and get up quickly. So you need to take knocks because you take knocks every day. But the better guys are the guys that get up quickly after taking a knock. And if I've developed one real trait, it's the fact that I can take a knock and I can get up really, really quickly. My staff sometimes look at me and say, aren't you affected by what happened an hour ago? I'm like, yeah, I am, but I've now moved on. And it's an amazing quality that you have. And the bigger the knock, the better you get up, the better the sense of accomplishment. And that's something really unique and something that I'm grateful that I failed. So we were looking for this venture or something that would just pay the bills. We looked at a whole lot of things, and I once went to visit my girlfriend who was doing promotions in a store, and I realized that the first thing is that she wasn't there, which was one of the flaws of the industry. The other thing was that I saw 60 other people standing in a store, and they were all terrible. And I thought to myself, this has got to be the biggest opportunity there is, because there's this huge industry and no one is doing it well. And so that was the beginning of the Creative Counsel. I phoned Gil from the store and I said, you've got to come here because I've got to show you this industry that we know nothing about. And the rest is history. The rest is we are where we are today. I think the first question is, how do you go from nothing to getting into business? And I think that the most important ingredient is this thing called desperation. The only reason why we started the business was because we were desperate. We had nothing to do. we were desperate, and desperation forced us into a corner where we had to do something. And so only out of desperation did we start South Africa's first, or South Africa's biggest in-store promotions company, for no other reason. There was no strategy, we didn't plot it into a huge business plan. We were desperate, we saw an opportunity, and we ran into the opportunity and said, we'll worry about what we haven't thought about later. And that's exactly what we did. I wish that I can tell you that from the day that we started the business, we had this huge strategy to take us from being a simple, menial in-store promotions business to being the biggest agency group in South Africa. But I'd be lying to you, because the truth is we didn't have a strategy. We put our heads down and we worked and we worked and we worked. And so by magic, by luck, and a little bit of intelligence that we had, we managed to steer this boat to fulfill the needs of our clients. I'll tell you the story of how we got our first client. So the first thing we did was I cold called from the 1st of August 2001 for over 7 months. I had an Excel spreadsheet that I got from the phone book, and I cold called. Hi, my name is Ryan and we do promotions. My name is Ryan and we do promotions. It got to a point where it was so embarrassing that the one time a guy from Standard Bank actually answered the phone, and he said to me, yes, what kind of promotions do you do? And I was like, I'll call you back. I didn't know what the next line of the sales pitch was. And so, ironically, we worked from the 1st of August 2001 until March 2002, losing money, no salary. The end was near. And we got an opportunity to pitch for Danone. And how we got the opportunity was, there was a girl that I was in school with. I didn't quite remember her. She remembered me. I called Danone. I said, hi, my name is Ryan. She said, I think I know who you are. Come and have a meeting. We had a meeting, and she said, you're in luck. There's a pitch for our in-store promotions company in a week's time, and here's the brief document you can pitch. I was like, cool, now what? And if I looked at the brief document, you had to have refrigerated infrastructure, you had to have refrigerated trucks. It was crazy, and we were broke, and they're talking to us about refrigerated infrastructure. We took this back. I made a 6-slide PowerPoint presentation. It was amazing. 6 slides. I copied and pasted pictures of refrigerated trucks from truck hire websites. And then I went to pitch, and there I was, sitting on a chair and waiting for the agency before me to leave so that I could present. And I won't forget, because they opened the door and like 6 of them walked out. And they had those big portfolios and they had laptops. And there I was in my T-shirt going, okay, now it's my chance. And I walked in, and I walked into this horseshoe-shaped boardroom where everybody was sitting there. The marketing director, the managing director, the brand, everyone was sitting there. And there I was with my 6-slide PowerPoint presentation and no infrastructure behind my name. And I plugged my laptop in, and I looked at one of the staff, and I got that glimpse I looked at her and she looked at me, and I realized, buddy, you're dead. And so I closed my laptop and I said, guys, I've got all the passion in the world, but no one's willing to give me work because I don't have experience. And I can't have experience because no one's willing to give me work. So I need a chance, and I'm not leaving here until you give me a chance. And then there were all those like chuckles, and they're like, who bought this guy? And so what they did was they gave me a chance, and it was the most impressive promotion you've ever seen, because I did everything myself. I trained the people, I placed the people, I did everything myself. Then what happened was, everyone heard that there's this new hotshot agency that Danone's using, and everyone started using us. And that was how the Creative Counsel actually started. We started as an in-store promotions company. And then what we realized along the way, not through any type of strategy, was that our clients trust us. They trust the fact that we can execute around the country on whatever we promise them. And they trust that we are smart. And they started asking us to come up with solutions. And then the brief changed. Instead of them telling us what to do, they started to ask us what we think they should do. And we built a solutions company. And that solutions company is the Creative Counsel today. Let's talk a little bit about scaling of a business. And really there are 2 parts to scaling of the business. There's people and there's systems. And then there's systems that are designed to replace people. But let's talk about them separately, because I think both are important. The first thing is you need to surround yourself. Everyone's heard this. I'm not teaching anyone anything new. You need to surround yourself with the best people. As a small business, the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs have, or anyone that's growing a business, is that they're so worried about the budget, and probably rightfully so, that they always make decisions based on budget and not based on the future. And I made many of those decisions. In fact, I was once asked to hire a financial director. The one guy was 70,000 a month, and the other guy was 100,000 a month. I chose the cheaper guy, and I landed up paying so much more, 100 times more. I lost 100 times more because I chose the wrong guy. What I should have done was not worry about the near-term budget, but counted on the fact that if I hired the right person, then they could add so much more value to the business that the incremental budget wouldn't be different. So, of course, people are the most important part of any organization, even a tech organization. Everything changes, but if you have people around you that are of the same culture, then you'll be successful. And that brings me to the next question, which is, how do we actually choose our people? So, in the past, we used to give them an Excel test, and we used to ask them how they perform under stress and pressure. And we used to ask them what the most difficult day of their life was, etc., etc. And then I tore up all those interview questions and I started to ask culture questions. Because to me, it doesn't really matter what you know. We'll teach you what you don't know. But what you can't usually change is the makeup of a person, the culture of a person. And in our organization, we have a very high performance culture. We have a champion or championship culture where only the fittest will survive. And so if you're not a champion at heart, and not everyone is a champion at heart, we have to accept that, then you won't survive. Not everyone can play for the best team in the best division. But those that can thrive in our environment. And so we started hiring people around culture. And that's been a fundamental shift in my mindset, because when you hire people around culture, when the business will change, or when the things when things change around you, we change accordingly. And it's really the most fulfilling thing when you've got like-minded, like-cultured people around you. Very important. Some companies put posters up on the wall, and that's our culture. There's a poster up on the wall, it's got to be our culture. No, you don't even need a poster. If you need a poster on the wall, your business doesn't have a culture. Our business, if you walk into anyone in our business, they'll tell you what our culture is like. And by the way, those are the posters that are up on the wall. And that's really how we choose people. Let's talk about systems. We live in an amazing period now where everything is driven by technology. And even better, I'm smiling because earlier today I was in a meeting where they showed me how an entire portion of our business was going to be powered by robots. And they took me through a demonstration of what these robots can do. They can replace people. And so I'm a big fan of systems. First, you design your process, then you build your system to enhance the process and to mimic the process. And that's been and is right now the biggest drive that we have in our business. Less people, more systems. Therefore, less mistakes and less excuses. Systems don't make excuses. There are two things which are really close to my heart, and the one is, of course, people, and the other one is relationships. And when I say relationships, it's not only relationships with your staff, it's relationship with your family in this race that we call business, relationship with your staff, relationship with your suppliers or your partners, and of course, relationship with your clients. In our company, we have a pillar in our culture. And the pillar is grow those that grow our business. And what we mean there is, whether it's a supplier, whether it's a spouse, whether it is a client, if someone goes out to grow your business proactively, you should do the same. And it's a real partnership mentality with integrity, not only for our staff, not only for our suppliers, not only for our clients, but for those who support us in our journey. So, yes, relationships are very, very, very key to the success in business. But I don't believe that there's anything I don't believe that you can say that relationships are driven by taking people out for dinner and a glass of wine. Relationships are symbiotic. And that means that if both parties have to gain, then there is a relationship. And what I mean there is that you can't expect to do bad work on the one side or to not act with partnership mentality or integrity, and to expect that your client maintain the same relationship with you. And the same thing with your staff. You can't treat your staff badly and then hope and wish that they keep their side of a symbiotic relationship, because that's not going to work. A relationship has to be symbiotic. Relationships are based on integrity. You've got to say what you do and you've got to do what you say. And then when you have integrity and you have this partnership ethic or partnership mentality, you'll build amazing relationships. My biggest regret, the biggest regret I have in my business career, was breaking the people, the amazing people who worked all around me. And I say it with a bubble in my throat, because I had amazing people that wanted to commit their lives to my vision and my dream, and I destroyed it. And the reason why I destroyed it is because I was 25 years old. I was hungry. All I saw was the end goal, which was this billion-dollar business. And I didn't care who I rode over on the way. And I had zero empathy. I was a slave driver who kept expecting 100% delivery from all my players all the time. And the minute that you delivered 99%, I would make it my mission to get you off our team. And it's today the biggest regret that I have, because I had amazing, amazing people. There are some that lasted through this treatment that I gave them, and those guys are partners today. There's some that I broke that I wish I never broke. And the turning point for me was we once called a consultant into our business to tell us what's wrong with our business. And we spent a lot of money on these consultants. And they came back at the end with this long report. But basically what the report said is, the problem with this business is you. And that's quite a big shock. I mean, you got this business, you're making a lot of money, you have very happy clients, you have very unhappy staff, and the guys come and tell you that the problem is you. But how can the problem be me if I'm so successful? The truth is that if you don't have strong foundations under you, you're not successful, because with a little bit of wind, the house of cards will fall over. So after the consultant report, one of the recommendations was that I go out and get some executive coaching. And I took on a coach. And she taught me one thing. She spent hours and hours and hours teaching me one thing. She taught me empathy. She taught me the ability or the quality of seeing things through the eyes of the people around me. And that really changed my leadership style and my management style. And I've been able to surround myself with much better people since then, because I attract different people, because I'm more empathetic and I see things from their point of view. And it's one of the biggest learnings that I have, and certainly the biggest regret that I have, because I had amazing people around me and I broke them. We have a different mindset. Our mindset is to always question everything, even if it's just for the sake of questioning. Just question it. We're Israeli, and so when we do question stuff, we question it in quite a heated way. I mean, some of our staff sometimes think we're fighting or something. But that is why we disrupt, because we keep asking questions and we keep challenging the status quo. We walked into an industry where people had been doing the same thing over and over and over for so many years. And we started asking questions. And we started asking all the questions around the sore points, because we came into the industry not having any preconceived perceptions of what happens in this industry. And in 2015, as a result, we were given the Industry Leaders Award for this industry. And I think that just goes to show that if you do, it doesn't matter what the industry is, it doesn't matter what experience you have. If you come in with the attitude of disruption and asking questions and not accepting the fact that things are this way because they've always been this way, and then having the courage and the resource to act on it, that's powerful. And we still do it today. We don't accept any status quo. You're not allowed to do this. But why? It's always been done like this. Okay, let's change it. This is how we approach work every single day. It's almost like when you tell us this is how it always is, you're challenging us to change it. And that's our mindset. And that's the mindset and the culture that we pass down to all our staff. We have a poster up in our office. And like I said to you, all the posters in our office actually represent what comes from the inside. But the poster is of a fork, and the fork's got its bent so it looks like that. And the caption is healthy heated debate. Now what that means is you should argue as much as you can, because when you argue, you ask all the right questions. And eventually you get to, everyone has their say, and eventually you can get to a disruptive answer. And so that's our culture. We can't change. I've asked myself the question, what makes for a successful entrepreneur? And the more I ask myself, the more I realize that actually what makes for a successful entrepreneur is not what makes a successful entrepreneur. What makes for successful people, whether it's in work, whether it's in sport, whether it's in family. And I've delved deeper into this question, and I found that there are two real questions. And the questions are, do they have the characteristics that it takes to be successful? And if they do, then have they actually done the training of what it takes to be successful? Now that's in sports, that's in business. So you should ask yourself the question, do you have what it takes? Are you the type of person that has extreme tenacity, that you'll never, ever, ever give up? Are you the type of person that can get knocked down 10 times and still carry on fighting? Are you the type of person that is so focused on the end goal, etc., etc.? If you have those qualities, then you've got to go out and train. You've got to go out there and get in the ring and take the punches. You've got to fail and you've got to get up. You've got to go out there and try, even though you don't have a perfect plan. And if you combine, do you have what it takes with have you done what it takes, then you've maximized your chances of success. So I always say to entrepreneurs, do the litmus test first. Am I an entrepreneur? Am I really an entrepreneur? Because entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Do I have the characteristics of an entrepreneur? And if you get to the point where you agree that the answer is yes, then go out there, quit your job, get into the ring and start boxing and see what happens. And if you get knocked down, get up again. And if you have to go for a couple of months without a salary, so be it. And eventually you will succeed. And that's the message. Check that you've got what it takes, and then go out there and do what it takes to make yourself successful. And don't wait for anyone, because no one's going to help you. Not the government, not your friends, not the banks, not anyone. Get out there and do it for yourself.